Well, good morning and good evening, Ms. Teaotia. Welcome to our annual summit.
Happy to be here.
And I have to say, you are among the very few senior women bureaucrats in the Indian administration, and you have executed in every position I've seen you very, very successfully, ably the mission you were given. And I do recall working with you very closely when you were the Commerce Secretary, and we were able to take a lot of stuff forward, especially between India and the U.S. And great
Yes,
to see
indeed.
you great to see you now as a chairperson for the Food Safety and Standard Authority of India. It is such an important position, especially for a country which is trying to bring nutrition to the younger generation, trying to be equitable to make sure that the gap between the haves and haves not is not marginalized by food itself. So my question, as I look at some of the important things you're doing, let's start with the vision. How do you see the vision of FSSAI as you take this organization forward, transform it into a much more effective, efficient organization?
Well, the first decade of the Food Safety Authority, we focused on the standards and benchmarking with the global standards as well. So that was really our focus in the initial years. As we stand today, our focus is really on the enforcement issues, and the effort is to ensure uniform enforcement and implementation of the law throughout the country. And for this, we are engaging through a system of memorandum of understanding with the state governments with financial support. And the objective is really to see that the systems and the quality of enforcement is the same throughout the country. As part of this, we launched in 2020 the food compliance system. And that is an online platform. It allows the states to manage their data. It allows the food businesses to register, license. And as we nudge the food businesses towards self-compliance, it allows them to also upload their annual returns, their food safety audits, their laboratory results, all onto a single platform that brings all this together. Apart from improving the quality of compliance and the uniformity of it, we've really focused on the quality of our testing. We've got a network of 252 laboratories, and we launched a brand new laboratory just 2 days ago at the Jawaharlal Nehru port, where the maximum food imports come in. And that's a state-of-the-art partnership with the Vimta laboratories. So these 252 laboratories are all getting accredited, all performing standardized testing. And the final bit, which comes from my last job, is really strengthening our food import system. 3 years ago, we covered about 25% of all the food imports directly, and the rest was through customs. Today, it is 75%. So in 3 short years, this is a journey we've made. And I think that we intend now to be able to manage all the food imports into the country directly.
No, that's great. And, I just saw the news this morning. India's food and agriculture exports are record-breaking, up by 22% compared to last year. So, it's interesting because the perception, the image is that India is a net food importer. But, the real story is India is a dominant exporter in the region itself. And my my next question for you is how do you see collaboration between the private sector, especially U.S. companies, along with FSSAI as you move forward?
Look, there are several areas of collaboration. In most of our initiatives, we adopt a partnership approach. So whether it is the policy effort to reduce food losses and wastage, which means efficient production systems, it means improved cold chains, it means strengthened distribution channels, we work with industry. When it comes to reformulation of products to be healthier, we work with industry. When it comes to self-compliance, we again work with industry. So in terms of moving forward, in terms of adopting some of the new regulatory practices, modern regulatory practices, we work with the industry. And I must say it's been a solid and robust partnership.
And when you look at these companies, we have, like Annie just talked about, introduced you. She is a CEO of a jackfruit company which buys jackfruits from India and then basically bring into what you call US as a nutrition, especially as a meat product, even though it's made out of jackfruit. And that's a tremendous two-way trade happening between India and the US just in that sector. When I look at from a priority perspective, what the message you want to give to the US companies as they look at procuring from India and exporting to the US itself?
I would say that they can actually feel confident that the regulatory oversight within India on product quality is fairly robust and improving. We know there's plenty of space to improve, and we are working on that. That's one piece of it. The second is that when you import or you rather buy the primary product from India, and when you formulate it, we are also a very large and demanding market. So there are tremendous opportunities here for quality products that are compliant with standards. And frankly, I believe that it can only be a win-win.
That's true. That's true. And we're seeing more and more companies such as ITC exporting packaged food to the US, which are in almost every grocery store now, and they become very popular. I know you dealt a lot, especially on issues of shrimp exports to US, and you dealt with mangoes issues, and there was certain biasness towards those goods coming from India. And as a chairperson of FSSAI, what is your message to the regulators in the US on these standards and the quality which is coming out of India to the US itself?
I would say that all trade relations must be built on mutual respect. When we export to the United States, while we ensure that compliance to our own standards, we also ensure that we meet the regulatory requirements of the US market. I think it's when in reverse, when we import food from the US, and we import quite a bit, almonds, some fruits, etc. They need to meet our labeling and our quality requirements too. So I think the requirement really is to have much more robust interaction between the regulatory teams and also much more capacity building of each other's food businesses so that they are able to comply with the regulatory requirements of either market. And I think that over the years, we have improved both in substance and quality the level of interaction with the US regulatory authorities.
No, that's good to hear because you have here just a U.S. Center for Food Safety and Nutrition under the Food and Drug Administration. Uh, does your team work with them, collaborate with them, making sure that they're in sync from standards, from quality, and export perspective?
Um, we have with the USFDA an engagement that focuses around standard setting, the technical collaboration, some level of trade facilitation, and capacity building, all these areas. And I think that reflects in the improved smoothness of the agricultural trade between the two countries. But the Center for Food Safety and Applied Nutrition of the USFDA, I believe, can be an excellent partner for our international Center for Food Safety and Applied Nutrition, which itself actually is born out of an MOU between the Food Authority, the Export Inspection Council of India, and the Global Food Safety Partnership of the World Bank. So they have only one center in Maryland, and the second one is in Mumbai. So I believe it's a great collaboration and a great potential.
So when do we see you coming to Maryland and visiting the center?
When COVID-19 is behind us.
Okay,
I think
I'll keep that in mind because we'd love to have you come here and connect with the U.S. companies which are importing from India at the same time exporting into India. But let me just come back to on the standard side. Obviously, as India economic standards rise, as India exports, and you have 4.5 million Indian Americans who still love their packaged curries and mangoes coming from India. How are you working on streamlining those standards so there's less hindrance for both sides, either export and import, and all the impediments are removed as they start moving these supplies either from India into the US or from the US into India?
Well, let's look at which is the common standards which unite us. And the Codex Alimentarius Commission is where both the United States and India, almost from the outset, we've been part of the global standard setting process. We align nearly all our standards with the Codex standard. Of course, we factor in the domestic risk-based assessment, the Indian physiology, but we are largely aligned. And we do this because it's critical for our trade, and it's critical also for the quality of product that we give to our own consumers. So I believe that our effort to meet these standards is something that we've been working on from the outset. All our horizontal standards are actually in alignment with the Codex. Most of the vertical standards are already in alignment, and this is, of course, an ongoing process. So that level of confidence, I believe that the two we can have. If there are particular labeling requirements for the United States market, of course, we meet those too.
No, that's great. One of the topic and issue which is dear to the Prime Minister is environment and sustainability. And when you look at food packaging, it becomes, I call it environmentally, it pollutes, because when you look around, people just use the package and throw it away. And how is your organization working on packaging and sustainability and protecting the environment also?
So we do have a food packaging and regulation that we issued a couple of years ago. While that looks at quality and safety primarily, we also focused on reduce, reuse, and recycle. A couple of years ago, 2 years ago, we permitted hotels to actually offer water in glass bottles, reusable glass bottles with paper seals to their guests in order to reduce their plastic footprint. We have taken pledges from the food industry to redesign their packaging to be more environmentally sustainable, pledges to completely eliminate virgin plastics, and most important, we worked with the Ministry of Environment, which has recently issued rules that permit reused plastic for carry bags and for food packaging, so that this provides a scope for recycling of the plastics by the food industry in a safe manner, compliant with the standards. And finally, oil, as you know, is used extensively in Indian food. And this oil gets reused and it generates what we call total polar compounds. We have brought in a regulation that controls this, but more important, that a system that collects the used cooking oil and converts it to either biodiesel or diverts it into soap and other products so that it doesn't get back into the food chain. So this is a very major effort. We call it the reused cooking oil program.
Well, that's fantastic, because I think that's a big challenge when we look at India from every aspect. And, I just want to give you all the assurance that anything we can do from US and US companies on this effort, please count on us as our support there. And we can convey the message to our member companies to work with you from that perspective. My next question to you is, in the US, 30% of the food wastage happens in the plate. And whereas in India, 30% of the food wastage happens in the farm field itself. And that's to do more with storage, supply chain, packaging. And what can the US companies do to help reduce that wastage on the farm and making sure that at least there is more efficiency in the supply chain?
I have to tell you that in the pledges to reduce the plastic waste and recycle plastics, in the pledges to reduce the trans fats, industrial trans fats in our food, and in the commitment to improved food production, cold chains, and distribution systems. The multinationals, including those from the US, have been right there at the forefront along with the Indian companies. So we welcome this because they bring with them technology and practices that they have already adopted, not just in their own countries, but across the globe. And it enriches our ecosystem as well and supports our local food businesses to adopt similar practices. So it's really been it's a sort of seamless effort. I think most of the multinationals are deeply engaged with our work and with many of our Eat Right initiatives. And we welcome that.
No, thank you. And, my final question, I know we have almost a minute left. And to you is, when you look at the vision of the organization as the leader, the chairperson of the organization, what would be your definition of success when you look 3 to 5 years forward from now?
The biggest challenge for us really is ensuring the uniformity of the product quality and its safety throughout the country. And all our efforts are geared towards that. So I think that if we emerge as a modern organization, working with new age platforms, improving the compliance, the quality of our surveillance, the quality of our testing, I would say that really is our goal. So that our consumers are safe throughout the country.
Okay, no, that's great, and I just want to say thank you for taking the time. I know you're very a visionary leader. You've been very effective in different positions, and I think you'll do a fantastic job as you transform this organization. We also, from a USISPF perspective, want to convey that we are here, reach out, and we look forward to hosting you in Maryland when you come as COVID situation settles down. Once again, thank you for taking the time. We wish you well, and please be safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much.